It is a school that has tremendous football tradition, and it is a school that I remember playing against and watching my older brothers play against back in the 50s, and having coached against the University of Auburn at times when they were certainly a feared football power in the South. And I'm confident that with the support of the Auburn people, the alumni, the former players, the student body, the faculty, the administration, that we will be able to bring this great football tradition back to what it once was. And we're looking forward to this challenge with great anticipation, a lot of enthusiasm, and realizing fully that it is going to take a lot of hard work and probably a lot of patience on your part and our part, but we will get the job done in the end.
With that, Patrick Fain-Dye became Auburn's 22nd head football coach. He was the man for the job. His family ties, his lifestyle, everything suited Auburn. He knew the Auburn job was for him.
I also knew that I'd never been unemployed, and that, you know, if we didn't get this job, because I discussed it with my wife, Sue, and I regret that she's not here because she has a great deal to do with me being here. And I discussed it with Sue, and we felt like that this opportunity may come along once in a lifetime, and I was not in a position to where I would let, you know, the administration at Wyoming, and I have absolutely no regrets at all, and I can understand, you know, them being in the position that they were in, but I was not going to let them force me into making a decision that would affect my coaching career the rest of my life.
Pat Dye had learned much of his football from Auburn's greatest foe, Bear Bryant of Alabama, having coached under him for 8 years. Would you rather not hit a guy as close as Pat is to you be the coach at Auburn?
Yeah, I really wouldn't be the coach at Auburn.
Why is that, Coach?
Because he's a friend of mine, and I want to continue to be a friend of mine, but definitely be closer than one like we were, and be cross-state rivals. And I don't want those Auburn people running them anyway.
Did you try to talk him out of taking the job?
No, I didn't try to talk him out. We talked before he'd ever offered the job, before he'd ever interviewed, and I let him know I didn't think he'd go down there. He should be going down there, I think. I didn't pay attention to him, naturally.
They would look across the field at each other only 2 times, but those games will endure as 2 of the greatest in the long and storied series. Pat Dye's 2 immediate tasks were to put together a staff and to do what could be done at the late hour to salvage the recruiting season.
We'll try to recruit the best kids that we can possibly recruit, Phil. I'm not one that is going to panic because of the recruiting situation. We're going to recruit some great players, already have, and we're going to get some before this year is over. And we're going to get some big name players. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be great college football players. I don't know what the percentage would be, but I'd say that probably half of the blue chip football players that you recruit turn out to be great college players. And the other half of the great college players come from kids that were not highly recruited and just people that had the work habits and the desire and the things it takes to make great college players.
Spring training was an event at Auburn that first year. The old grads wanted to see. They came, and they got an eyeful. Spirited practices, a coaching staff that didn't mind shedding a little blood if it was necessary. There was a new offense to be installed, the wishbone, and a new defensive alignment, the 5-2. Nearly 30,000 fans showed up for the spring game. They didn't see a lot of precision, a lot of finesse. What they saw was effort and intensity. They went home encouraged. Their enthusiasm would grow. They knew the corner had been turned. By the time the Skyriders arrived in the fall, Pat Dye was talking freshmen. He had promised there'd be some good ones in that first crop and that they would be needed, and there were, not many, but some who'd figure prominently in a couple of years. David King, Ben Thomas, Victor Beasley, Clayton Buford, John Daly, Jimmy Warren, all would play key roles to the championship a couple of years away. And so the Pat Dye era began on a hot September Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium against Texas Christian. Freshman Ron O'Neal, a 5'9", 250-pound fullback, was a weapon the Horned Frogs hadn't considered. Auburn won 21-10. Donnie Humphrey, a junior defensive lineman, had 14 tackles. After a week off, the Tigers played their first ever night game at home and lost. Wake Forest completed 32 passes, coming from 14 points down, and they beat Auburn 24-21. Maybe the most memorable game of the '81 season came at Knoxville, Tennessee. Auburn's swarming defense rose up in the second half and refused to let the Vols score. For Auburn, it came down to one final drive. The Tigers were asked to go 80 yards in the final 5 minutes. They went and went 77 yards. They couldn't go the final 3 because there was no time left on the clock. Tennessee won 10-7.
That's life. There's going to be a lot of days when you lay your guts on the line and you come away empty-handed. Ain't a damn thing you can do about it but go back and lay them on the line again. And again and again. Every coach, manager, glad to be associated with you. You'll keep fighting like you did today. You'll keep playing like that. We can build a foundation that we can live a long, long time on it all. The old saying goes, time just ran out.
Auburn was completely outmatched in a rainstorm in Lincoln, but they didn't know it. They led mighty Nebraska 3-0 at the half. Fumbles inside Auburn's 10-yard line gave Nebraska its 2 second-half touchdowns. They won 17-3. Mark Dorminey tackled and punished 21 ball carriers in the secondary. The Tigers snapped a 3-game losing streak with the designated quarterback offense against LSU, using John Murphy, Joe Sullivan, and Randy Campbell, often sending the quarterback and the play into the game at the same time. Murphy in a running situation, Sullivan to pass, and Campbell to mix it up. It was effective. Auburn beat LSU 19-7. The record was 3-3 after a 31-7 win over Georgia Tech, highlighted by David King's block of a Tech field goal try and Chris Martin's return of it for the touchdown. Auburn had Mississippi State on the ropes with 2:28 to go and the ball on 4th down. But a no-snap call to run the clock turned out to be an illegal snap, giving Mississippi State the ball at midfield. John Bond on 4th and 32 split the Auburn secondary, and Mississippi State came back to win 21-17. By now, Auburn was playing solid defense, but the execution of the wishbone was still lacking. Leading 14-12, having allowed Florida only field goals, Brian Clark was set to kick the deciding one for the Gators. Maybe he was hurried. Whatever, it was wide, just wide. Auburn beat the Gators, and a 3-year feud was underway. After disposing of North Texas State, Pat Dye went home to Athens, Georgia. His Tigers had to face Herschel Walker and Buck Bellew. 3 turnovers didn't help. Walker became Georgia's all-time leading rusher on the way to a 24-13 Georgia victory. A win against Alabama in the final game of the season would give Pat Dye a winning season in his first year. But Alabama had more to gain. As fate would have it, the Auburn game was Bear Bryant's first opportunity to win his 315th career victory and become the winningest coach of all time. He would get the win, but not without a battle. Alabama scored first. The touchdown followed this long run by Alan Gray. Auburn adjusted its defenses afterward to stop the Tide option. The Tigers answered early in the second quarter. George Peoples, behind a wall of blockers, went 63 yards to tie the score. The Tiger defense was magnificent. Mark Dorminey's hit on Gray knocked the ball loose. The Tigers had it inside the Alabama 10. But on this occasion and several others in the opening half, Auburn missed touchdown and field goal chances that would have given them a substantial lead. Down 14-7 in the third, Chuck Clanton batted a mishandled Alabama punt to the goal line, setting up the tying score. Lionel James drew it even for Auburn. Early in the fourth quarter, Auburn went on top 17-14 with a Del Greco field goal. Facing a possibility of defeat in the most important game of their lives, Alabama rallied to 2 touchdowns in the final minutes of the game. Bear Bryant's 315th was a 28-17 victory over his biggest rival.
Thought you fought a good fight. I think there's any question about that. I think you displayed a lot of class. Against a good football team. I feel mighty bad for you seniors. You displayed a lot of class this year. One thing I'd like to leave with you is that you didn't get the full benefit that might have been coming your way for doing what you did. But don't ever doubt the things that we've taught and preached all year long will win. Now, you younger players, you sophomores and freshmen and juniors, you'll be here to witness it and be a part of it. But you seniors, you think back on it. Don't ever forget about it, because it'll win. Not just in football. I ain't talking about football here. I'm talking about in life. Proud to be associated with you. It's tough, but you're men, and just keep getting up.
Well, I've just been staying as close to the team as I can, and I've been working with the centers a little bit and telling them what little I know, you know, trying to help them along. Mainly just staying close to Auburn football.
Would you like to play professionally now?
Yes, sir. I sure would like to get just that one shot as maybe as a free agent to play. But you're right, it's disappointing today, and especially disappointing when you know you didn't do your job like I didn't do my job today.
I think you're going to get a chance to play again, and we're going to enjoy watching you. We've enjoyed it these 4 years, guys.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Good luck in pro.
Yes, sir.
Football, it's a great way of life. I enjoy it. So if I could do it, I'm going to try it.
We've enjoyed watching you.
Well, I've enjoyed being here.
Thank you.
All right.
It was not to be today, my man, but there have been some good Saturdays for you. You're going to work on your degree now, Charles?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to go ahead and get my degree in descriptive education, and and hope to get a good job somewhere. Coach Bear Bryant, great coach and all, and just didn't work out for us today.
I guess you had the best game you ever played today, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that. And I give all my credit to my offensive line and running behind the blocks of my running backs also,
Do you think you learned something about yourself this year?
Yes, sir. I think I have. So I had to come a long ways from adversity. And it's something, I made up my mind early in the year that I was going to come back, Despite my shoulder injury and other things, I still have faith.
Coach Dawes, presented a real good work ethic to us, and something, his lifestyle, a pattern to follow, and I've just been proud to be around him and his coaching staff.
So you came on back and and you helped the team some. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Well, I really wanted to come back, and I think it's been a great experience coming back playing for Auburn again.
You going to work and get your degree?
Yes, I'm going to do that. That's the main reason I came back.
I think Auburn people are great, though. I mean, they accept you. It doesn't matter if you're from Tuscaloosa. I mean, if you're Auburn, and that's great. That's a good compliment.
You got people going 100% all the time, and that's all you can ask for. And Coach Dye's gotten that out of everybody, and that's a tribute to him and the type of players he's got here.
I really feel that this team, in the years to come, they're going to be a great team because, they got a great coach. Coach Dye, he is a great man.
I didn't get a chance to spend much time with Coach Brown out there on the field after the game, but he knows how I feel about him, and I know how he feels about me. And we just went to war for a couple hours out there today, and we'll have to recruit against each other. But he's the greatest coach in the game's ever known. Don't think there's any question about it. And if anybody's going to have that record, it's certainly he's the one that deserves it.
The lack of a wishbone quarterback was Pat Dye's biggest problem in that first year. That and some depth at running back. All that was about to change. A-Day 1982 was well attended, but uneventful. One of the A-Day goals was to determine who would quarterback the Tigers for the coming season. No one stepped forward. But during a marathon scrimmage following A-Day, Randy Campbell, a fourth-year junior, won the job. No one realized it at the time, but the little guy from Hartselle would go on to be one of the best quarterbacks ever to wear the orange and blue. There was an eye-grabber at A-Day 1982. It was number 99, Doug Smith. Smith followed Pat Dye to Auburn from East Carolina. Doug would be a mainstay in the best Auburn defensive front since the national champions of '57. As fall practice began and the freshmen began to arrive, it was obvious that Pat Dye's first full year of recruiting was going to be outstanding. Tommy Agee, Collis Campbell, Tim Jesse, Jeff Lott, Ron Middleton, Jeff Parks, Tommy Powell, Gerald Robinson, Rob Schuler, Randy Stokes, Steve Wallace, Pat Washington, and Gerald Williams all would go on to become great players. And there was a running back out of Birmingham who popped eyes from the moment he walked onto the practice field. His name, Vincent Bo Jackson.
How would you describe the running these last few days of the freshman right halfback Bo Jackson?
It's pretty good. I just hope he keeps it up during the season. He's got excellent speed and he's big and strong, and he's going to help us a whole lot. He really is.
Wake Forest rallied to beat Auburn in '81, but they would never be in this '82 game. Lionel James got things rolling early with a 67-yard touchdown run. Bo Jackson debuted in stunning fashion. 10 carries, 123 yards, including this touchdown run. Auburn defeated Wake Forest 28-7. Southern Miss came the following week and stuck a scare in Auburn. The Tigers jumped out to a comfortable 21-6 lead through three quarters on the passing and catching of Randy Campbell and Mike Edwards, touchdown plays of 47 and 51 yards, and a strong touchdown run by Bo Jackson. But the Southerners rallied for 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and were trying to kill the clock for a makeable field goal try when time ran out. Auburn eked out a 21-19 victory. No satisfaction, especially when Donnie Humphrey went down for the season with a torn knee. Absolutely no one at the time realized that the all-star defensive tackle would come back for his 5th year and help his team to a championship. Pat Dye got his first look at a Jordan-Hare sellout for Tennessee. It had been 4 years since Auburn had tasted victory against their biggest early season foe. Bo Jackson put Auburn in front 6-0. After Tennessee came back to lead 7-6, an Al Del Greco field goal put the Tigers in front 9-7 at the halfway point. They led 17-14 going to the fourth quarter. And they put the Vols away on an 80-yard, 12-play drive highlighted by this 43-yard halfback pass, Lionel James to Bo Jackson. The Auburn defense forced 4 turnovers while limiting the Vols to just 94 yards on the ground. Greg Carr's 16 tackles made him the AP and UPI Player of the Week. Auburn won 24-14. Auburn was unbeaten in 3 games, hoping to use its home field advantage to move into the high echelons of college football with a victory over mighty Nebraska. The Tigers learned that day what talent and depth can do. It was a dismal Saturday at Jordan-Hare. Nebraska, leading by just a touchdown at the half, routed the Tigers over the final 2 quarters. When it was over, the big red threshing machine led by Mike Rozier had a 41-7 victory. Against Kentucky, Auburn used the toe of Al Del Greco. The little guy from Miami set an SEC record and tied an NCAA mark with 6 field goals to account for all Auburn scoring. The Auburn defense allowed the Wildcats just 7 first downs and total offense of only 217 yards. The Auburn defense scored their only shutout of the year against old-time foe Georgia Tech. Bob Harris intercepted 2 passes. David King pulled down 1 to stall the Tech air attack. Greg Carr and Chris Martin combined for 19 tackles. The little train, Lionel James, was brilliant, amassing over 200 yards in rushing and punt returns. Auburn's best effort of the year to date, a 24-0 thrashing of the Yellow Jackets. The young Tigers went on the road for the first time in Game 7. They were 5-1 at home. Now the question of winning road games loomed large. They answered with an error-free performance against Mississippi State, and there was drama. Bo Jackson had not played or practiced in nearly 2 weeks. With State leading 17-14, number 34 entered the game and sparked the Tigers to 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns. Lionel James had another big day, his biggest of the year, 138 yards. This fourth-quarter touchdown broke the game open. Auburn rallied big to beat Mississippi State 35-17. Again, the Florida game would end in controversy. With 2 minutes, 47 seconds to go in the game, Auburn held a slim 17-16 lead, Florida having just kicked a field goal. On the onside kick, it came down to who had the ball, Leon Pennington of Florida or Auburn's Lionel James. The officials gave it to Pennington. And on the final play of the game, Florida's Jim Gainey kicked a 42-yard field goal. Florida beat Auburn 19-17 at Florida Field. Auburn won its 7th game in 9 tries on the first Saturday in November. The 30-7 win over Rutgers was another no-error performance by the Auburn Wishbone. Randy Campbell hit 9 of 18 passes for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bo Jackson rushed for 114 yards. The Scarlet Knights finally punched one over in the fourth quarter to avoid the shutout. Auburn was solidly in the bowl picture for the first time in 8 years. Georgia brought its vastly talented team to Auburn. The Dogs won, but what a struggle. It was maybe the guttiest performance Randy Campbell ever made. No one wanted to beat Georgia or tried harder than did number 14. There was no way he could beat Freddie Gilbert to the end zone on this play, but he did. Auburn led 7-3. It didn't last long, though. Herschel Walker went 47 yards. 10-7 Georgia. In the fourth quarter, Auburn's Lionel James shocked the Dog defenders, going 87 yards to put Auburn in front, 14-13. Great teams answer, and Georgia answered with an 80-yard drive. Auburn had one last shot. They drove it to the 14-yard line, but there the drive died. It was a gallant bid. 2 weeks later, at Legion Field, under similar circumstances, they would not fail.
And I really didn't have to talk playing for getting beat. I don't think there's any question that you fought a good fight against a real fine football team. I hope that we can learn from today. We hope that the experience will have some deep roots with you. I hope it'll make us come back and work harder, make us hungrier, give us more determination than ever to win. I'm going to tell you something, you displayed as much class as been displayed by Auburn football team since I've been here today.
We're extremely happy and thrilled to have Auburn University, such a great institution, and its fine football team, its coach, and its staff, to be the host club at our annual Football Tangerine Classic, December the 18th in Orlando, Florida. I want to assure you, you can be guaranteed a week of fun in the sun. With all the worlds there, we believe and we know that we have the most exciting place, not only in this country, but in the world. So you mix that with a little touch of Southern hospitality, and you are in for a great time. And we want to assure you that. Now, for this occasion, Dr. Funderburk, would you please come up? As a memento of this occasion, we want to give you this football with the Tangerine Bowl, the date, and the teams on it.
As the November off week dragged on, there was an increasing sense among Auburn people that this would be the year that the long losing streak would end. Using the extra week of preparation, the Auburn coaching staff secretly installed an I formation attack, mostly for protection. By now, Bo Jackson and Lionel James were Auburn's only effective running backs. Should one go down, they would then switch to the I formation with its one less back. Game day finally came. Alabama, as usual, the favorite. And Walter Lewis went right to work, putting the Crimson Tide ahead on a tremendous catch by Joey Jones. Alabama appeared headed for another score when Mark Dormady knocked the ball out of the grasp of Joe Carter right into the arms of Tim Drinkard. Walter Lewis chased him down at the 14-yard line. On 3rd and long, Lionel James made a great run for touchdown. It was 7-7. Auburn led 14-13 at the half, their second touchdown on a gutty run by Randy Campbell. But in the third quarter, Alabama appeared ready to break the game open. A Paul Carruth touchdown made it 19-14. And after Bear Bryant decided on 4th and 1 at the 1-yard line to take the field goal, it was 22-14, Alabama. Auburn switched back to the wishbone and came to life in the fourth quarter, starting with a Bo Jackson run to the 23-yard line. Needing 2 scores to win, Del Greco came on to kick the field goal. The lead was now 5 points. Auburn's defense, pounded by Alabama's pass-run attack, decided to make a stand. Alabama had to give up the ball with 4.5 minutes to go. Auburn needed 66 yards. Randy Campbell saved it with a 3rd down completion to Mike Edwards. It was just enough. A clutch throw to Bo Jackson got it to the 1-yard line. And on 4th down, it was Bo over the top for a 1-point lead. Alabama still had time to kick a winning field goal, but Bob Harris and the Auburn defense would not allow it. Again, another last-second opportunity after an Auburn fumble, but Ben Thomas and the Auburn defensive front would not hear of it. Finally, the final play, and Auburn had ended the 9-year domination of its biggest rival.
thank you for what Auburn University stands for. Please let us be humble in victory and proud. Most of all, we thank you for being at Auburn. Amen. What I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you, the ones that want to, I'm going to go back out there and thank our people. I didn't send our players back on the field yesterday, and I didn't go back out there myself to put on a big show or anything like that, but I wanted our players to get the true feeling and the emotions of winning a big football game. That's the first big game that we've won. National television, Alabama, and it's going to come down to having to win one like that to win a national championship one of these days. And I wanted to go back out to our people because I knew that how happy they would be and the weeping and wailing with joy and our student body and all of our fans that have been so good to us ever since I've been at Auburn. Even last year when we wasn't winning, look at them passing Lionel around here. I wanted them to feel what it's like, you know, to win one of those big ones because, like I said, it'll come back again and it might make us play a little harder.
I can't remember any better feeling. This is it. This is the class that turned it around. That's it. It ain't going nowhere but up from here.
It's great. Nothing like it.
This is the senior class that did it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We had great practices, and all I can say is I just feel great.
It was time, wasn't it?
It was time. I put my towel on the left side this time to make sure.
And to give a program that's been such a class program and a bunch of class people and dedicated fans that have followed us, and to give them back something finally after all these years, it's the best feeling you can have.
If you got to graduate and go on, this is the one to do it on, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
How do you feel?
My words can't describe it. It's unbelievable.
It took 5 years. Was it worth it?
It was worth every minute of it. I mean, it was great.
Where were you on the goal line play?
I was down in the bottom.
Get your block?
Yes, sir. Sure did. We got it!
Football career is complete now. I can live easy for the rest of my life.
I have an idea your football career is not complete, though.
Well, I hope not, but if it is, it'll be all right.
Yeah, ain't nothing. Just go. Let's go.
Hey, man, you were a wild man on those last 2 series when you had to stop him.
It's when the tough gets going and going get tough. I feel great. I was kind of tired, but I know I had to reach down and look for that second helmet.
What are you going to tell your grandchildren?
Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to have this number 4 jersey waiting on them. I'm never going to ever forget this. I never felt that way in my whole life.
You waited a long time for this, John.
Oh, yeah, I waited 9 years for it to happen. And it finally came today. Great thrill.
I can go home now. I can go to Montgomery. I can go to Birmingham. I can go to Florence. I can go to Mobile. I can go all over the state. I can talk now.
Feels great.
Glad you followed your brother to Auburn?
Yeah, glad I came on down this way.
Walter Lewis caught up with you with that intercepted pass.
Yes, sir. He had an angle on me, but I still don't know if I could outrun him if he hadn't had an angle. He's fast.
How does it feel to be the first senior class to turn it around?
Feels great. We've already talked about it. You know, we talked about it before the game. You know, we want it to be us.
No, do it. We're talking only to seniors. I think you're a senior.
No, do it to the players.
No, I'm going to do it to you. How does it feel? Now, you've been around Auburn for all your life. You got to tell me how it feels to beat Alabama.
I don't have to tell you how it feels. You know. It's been a long time.
It sure has. Congratulations.
Don't talk to me. Talk to them.
We didn't talk to you, David. We're talking only to seniors, Dr. Funderburg. We'll classify you as a senior. How does it feel?
Great. We waited for it a long time. And I think you saw the results out there today, and Auburn people enjoyed it to the fullest.
We don't intend for it to be 10 years again. We're going to meet them head on.
Auburn went bowling for the first time in a long time. It had been 8 years. It would be hard to imagine a more fun trip for the players and the staff. The Tangerine Bowl. It offered an interesting match with Boston College and a young sophomore quarterback named Doug Flutie. It was a matchup that Auburn won in an unusual way, throwing the football. Randy Campbell had a tremendous night. 177 yards, 10 of 16. He was the game's most valuable player. The little train, Lionel James, ran for 101 yards, a big night. And Bo Jackson scored 2 touchdowns. Mark Dorminey made his final game in the orange and blue one to remember. He was the game's defensive most valuable player. Boston College scored on the last play of the game to make it closer than it really was. Auburn won 33-26. The Tigers finished the 1982 season with 9 wins and just 3 losses. It was a Fantasyland finish, and it would lead to even greater things in the year to come.
He's our Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse. Forever little, so that never high. Come along and sing a song and join the jamboree. M-I-C, M-E-Y, M-O-U-S-E. The leader of the club that's made for you and me. For me, M-I-C, M-E-Y, M-O-U-S-E. Even under hold their units, welcome as can be. M-I-C, M-E-Y.